Chosen one, why are you still here? After the divorce that should have destroyed you, after burying the person who was your whole world, after the diagnosis that made doctors shake their heads, after the financial collapse that left you counting pennies at 75 years old, after watching your own children become strangers, why are you still here? What if I told you that your survival is the evidence the world can't explain? What if every scar on your soul, every sleepless night at 3 a.m., every moment you whispered, "God, I can't take any more," was actually God engraving his signature into your story? Listen to me carefully. You didn't survive by accident. You survived by assignment. Right now, as you're watching this, maybe it's 2 a.m. and you can't sleep again. Maybe you're sitting in that same chair where you've cried 1,000 tears. Something is shifting in the spiritual realm. Your life is about to become God's courtroom exhibit. You are living proof, and the jury is the world. For decades they've watched you. Your family who wrote you off, your neighbors who whispered about your struggles, even strangers who looked at your weathered face and saw failure. But what they couldn't see is that God was building something in you that no textbook could teach, no seminary could produce, no human experience could manufacture. You are proof that miracles still happen, proof that grace still operates, proof that the God of the impossible is still in the business of resurrection. Before we journey deeper into this divine revelation together, I want to pause and honor something sacred. Thank you to every single one of you who has supported this message through super thanks. Your generosity means more than you know. You're not just donating. You're helping spread light to others who feel forgotten in their calling. Whether you give or not, I'm deeply grateful for your presence here. Your support, your time, your attention, it all matters. And if this message is already stirring something ancient in your soul, go ahead and plant that seed of faith. But here's what's about to shock you to your core. Every betrayal that broke your heart, every door that slammed in your face, every year you felt invisible, none of it was random. It was all divine preparation. Because God doesn't just use the perfect as proof. He uses the proven. He uses the tested. He uses the ones who've walked through hell and came out still whispering his name. If something in your chest already knows this message was written for you, if your spirit is trembling with recognition right now, type proof in the comments. Let heaven take inventory. Let the angels see who's still standing after the storm. Because by the end of this message, you will understand exactly why your pain wasn't punishment but preparation, why your scars weren't shame but credentials, why your story wasn't ending but becoming the very evidence that silences doubt and ignites faith in a world that desperately needs to know. God is still real, God is still moving, and He's about to prove it through your life. Your courtroom moment has arrived, chosen one. Are you ready to take the stand? How are you still laughing when you should be bitter? How are you still praying when heaven has been silent for decades? How are you still loving when love has betrayed you over and over again? Listen to me, dear one. There's something about your story that doesn't add up in the world's mathematics. By every logical calculation, you should have given up years ago. The divorce papers that arrived on your 40th wedding anniversary should have broken you permanently. The phone call at 2:47 a.m. telling you your child was gone should have silenced your voice forever. The doctor's words that began with, "I'm sorry, but," should have extinguished every flame of hope in your chest. Yet here you are, still breathing, still believing, still standing when lesser souls would have crumbled into dust. Your endurance doesn't make sense. Your joy after heartbreak doesn't add up. Your peace in storms feels unnatural. That's because it's supernatural. For 70, 80, maybe 90 years, people have been watching you with confusion written across their faces. They've studied your life like scientists examining an anomaly that breaks every known law. Doctors can't measure it. The resilience in your blood work defies medical explanation. Family can't explain it. How does someone lose everything twice and still wake up grateful? Neighbors whisper about it. They've seen you bury your husband, lose your home, battle cancer, and yet you still water your flowers every morning like hope itself depends on it. What they don't understand is that your life has been a courtroom all along. Every trial you've faced, every season of suffering, every moment of inexplicable endurance, these weren't random hardships. They were evidence files being compiled by the Almighty Himself. Your scars aren't just scars. They're divine fingerprints pressed into your story, marking you as Exhibit A in heaven's case for His existence. The Apostle Paul knew this mystery when he declared in 2 Corinthians 4:8-9, "We are hard-pressed on every side, but not crushed, perplexed, but not in despair, persecuted, but not abandoned, struck down, but not destroyed." Paul understood that some lives are designed to be living contradictions to despair. Some stories are written to be impossible by human standards and inevitable by divine ones. That's you, chosen one. You are a walking impossibility that forces the world to confront what they cannot explain away. Think about Job. Satan himself had to ask God's permission to test him because even hell recognized that Job carried something supernatural. When everything was stripped away, his wealth, his children, his health, Job's wife looked at his suffering and said, "Curse God and die." But Job's response shook both heaven and hell. "Though he slay me, yet will I trust in him." That same inexplicable trust flows through your veins, that same supernatural stubbornness to keep believing when belief makes no sense, that same holy defiance against despair that turns your life into a question mark the world cannot answer. Proof doesn't argue. Proof doesn't beg to be believed. Proof doesn't need defenders or explanations or apologies. Proof simply exists. And chosen one, you are that proof. Your survival is the sermon. Your endurance is the evidence. Your unexplained peace is the testimony that silences skeptics and sets hearts on fire with wonder. But here's what will shock you. All those years of feeling like you were barely hanging on, you weren't just surviving, you were being prepared. Because what's coming next will require every ounce of supernatural strength you've built in the darkness. You want to know why your life has been so hard, why every time you thought you were catching a break, another wave knocked you down. Why at 70, 80, 90 years old, you're still fighting battles that should have been over decades ago. Here's the truth that will shatter everything you thought you knew about your pain. God wasn't punishing you. He was preparing you. Look at Joseph, 17 years old with dreams of greatness, then 13 years of hell, slavery, false accusations, prison, forgotten by those he helped. By the time Pharaoh called for him, Joseph was 30 years old, no longer a dreamy boy, but a man forged in the furnace of betrayal. And when he stood before the most powerful ruler on earth, he didn't just survive the moment, he transformed a nation. 13 years of preparation for a lifetime of proof. But here's what breaks my heart. You've been looking at those 13 years in your own life, those decades of struggle, loss, disappointment, and calling them wasted time. But what if they weren't wasted? What if they were weighted? What if every single year of silence was adding credibility to your story? Think about Moses, 80 years old when God called him from the burning bush. 80. The world would have written him off, put him in a nursing home, told him his time had passed. But God said, "Now you're ready." Why? Because it took 40 years in Pharaoh's palace to give him education, 40 years in the wilderness to give him humility, and only then could he handle the assignment of delivering an entire nation. Not abandoned, prepared. Not overlooked, engraved. Not punished, positioned. And Sarah, 90 years old when she birthed the promise. 90. Her womb was dead, her hope buried, her dreams fossilized by time. But when God spoke life into impossibility, she didn't just have a baby. She became the mother of multitudes, the matriarch of faith itself. Every barren year wasn't God's neglect, it was His strategy. Because here's what the enemy doesn't want you to understand. Every season of silence gave your proof credibility. Without those years of waiting, without those nights of crying, without those moments when you almost gave up. But didn't your story would be inspiring, yes, but it wouldn't be undeniable. And God doesn't just want inspiring, He wants undeniable. What if the divorce that shattered your heart was actually shattering your pride, so you could relate to every broken marriage you'll restore? What if the financial ruin that left you eating generic cereal was teaching you that provision comes from heaven, not Wall Street? What if the diagnosis that terrified you was developing the faith muscle you'd need to speak healing into someone else's hopelessness? What if the things that almost destroyed you were the very things that made you undeniable proof? You see, anybody can preach from success. Anybody can testify from the mountaintop, but only the proven can speak from the valley and still point to the peaks. Only the tested can say God is faithful and have it carry the weight of decades. Only those who've walked through fire can look at others in the flames and say with absolute authority, "You will not be consumed." This is why your age isn't your limitation, it's your qualification. Every wrinkle is a witness. Every grey hair is a crown of credibility. Every scar is a sermon that preaches louder than any pulpit. But the most shocking revelation is this: God has been strategically positioning you for this exact moment when the world needs undeniable proof. Not theoretical proof, not theological proof. Living, breathing, walking, talking proof that He is still God. And you, dear chosen one, you are that proof. The question burning in heaven right now is, are you ready to let your life do the preaching? Listen to me carefully, chosen one. Something is shifting in the spiritual atmosphere around your life right now. Can you feel it? That electric tension, like the air before lightning strikes. That's not anxiety, that's anticipation. Heaven is preparing to pull back the curtain on what has been hidden in you for decades. Eyes will find you without you asking. People will study your endurance, your peace, your survival. Some will be drawn closer, desperate to understand how you're still standing when they've watched others with half your struggles crumble. Others will be unsettled, deeply unsettled, because proof confronts as much as it comforts. You see, there's something terrifying about undeniable evidence. It forces people to make a choice. It strips away the luxury of maybe, the comfort of doubt, the safety of skepticism. When God puts you on display, neutrality dies. Think about this. A scientist doesn't waste time arguing about gravity. Objects falling prove it. The demonstration is more powerful than any debate. A tree doesn't explain its growth to anyone. Its roots reaching deep into the earth, its branches stretching toward the sky. These are the witnesses. The evidence speaks louder than explanations ever could. And you, dear one, you don't need to defend yourself anymore. Your story already testifies. Your survival is the sermon. Your endurance is the evidence. Your very existence is the exclamation point at the end of God's declaration, "I am real." But here's where it gets intense. When God unveils someone as proof, He doesn't do it quietly. Proof demands an audience. And the audience isn't just watching, they're being judged by what they see. Your life becomes the courtroom where hearts reveal themselves, where the hungry get fed and the proud get exposed, where seekers find answers and mockers find conviction. Do you understand what's happening to you? You're not just getting better. You're not just healing. You're not just surviving another day. God is transforming you into living evidence that the supernatural still intersects with the natural. That miracles didn't stop in Bible times, that the God who parted the Red Sea is still parting impossible circumstances today. If you're ready for God to unveil your proof, if you're ready to stop hiding the very thing that could ignite faith in others, type "show them" in the comments right now. Let heaven see your agreement. Let the angels witness your surrender to this divine assignment. But here's what will shock the world the most. You won't just survive, you will flourish. You won't just make it through, you'll make it count. Because proof isn't fragile, beloved. Proof carries abundance with it. Proof doesn't barely escape, it emerges victorious. Watch what happens next. Your peace will become unexplainable. Your joy will defy your circumstances. Your strength will contradict your age. Your wisdom will surpass your education. Your favor will exceed your qualifications. And when people ask how, when they demand explanations, when they search for the secret formula, there won't be one. There will only be God. The doubters who said you'd never recover will watch you thrive. The family members who predicted your failure will witness your flourishing. The doctors who gave you months will see you celebrating years. The financial advisors who wrote off your future will watch abundance flow into your life through channels they never calculated. This isn't just restoration, chosen one. This is demonstration. God isn't just fixing what was broken in your life. He's using what was broken to prove what he can do with surrendered pieces. He's taking your fragments and creating a masterpiece that screams his name across a world that's forgotten how to believe. But the unveiling comes with a warning. Once you step into this light, once you allow God to put you on display as his proof, there's no going back to small living, quiet faith, or hidden purpose. Are you ready for the world to see what God looks like when he moves through a willing vessel? Listen to me carefully, chosen one. What you're stepping into isn't a blessing you can wear casually like Sunday clothes. Being proof of God's reality is holy ground, sacred territory, and sacred territory comes with sacred responsibility. Your life is no longer just your own story. Every choice you make now ripples across generations. Every word you speak carries divine weight. Your integrity doesn't just affect you anymore, it affects everyone who will look at your life and decide whether God is real or just another fairy tale for desperate people. Think about Moses coming down from Mount Sinai. His face was so radiant with God's glory that the Israelites couldn't even look at him directly. Exodus 34-30 tells us they were afraid to come near him. That wasn't just spiritual glow, that was the weight of carrying heaven's evidence in human flesh. And Moses had to wear a veil, not to hide his face, but to help others process what they were seeing. You're about to understand what Moses felt. When God uses your life as proof, you carry a frequency that disturbs comfortable people and awakens hungry souls. But here's what nobody tells you about this calling. The resistance will be fierce. Your own family members will question your transformation. Friends will distance themselves because your peace makes their chaos uncomfortable. Co-workers will whisper that you've gotten weird because joy doesn't make sense to them after what you've been through. And yes, the envy will come. Like vultures circling, they'll analyze every blessing, dissect every breakthrough, hunting for explanations that don't include God. Must be luck, they'll say. Right place, right time, family money, special connections, anything to avoid admitting they're witnessing supernatural intervention. The criticism will rise like floodwaters. They'll attack your past, magnify your mistakes, question your motives. Why? Because only undeniable proof creates that kind of unrest. When people can't explain away your transformation, they get desperate to discredit it. But here's what you need to understand about this sacred weight you're carrying. What feels heavy right now isn't punishment. It's God trusting you with evidence that could save souls. He's not burdening you. He's honoring you with the most serious assignment on earth, being his witness in human form. Daniel knew this weight. When King Nebuchadnezzar demanded everyone bow to his golden image, Daniel's 3 friends chose the furnace over compromise. They said in Daniel 3:18, "But even if he does not, we want you to know, your majesty, that we will not serve your gods or worship the image of gold you have set up. Even if he does not, even if the miracle doesn't come, even if the rescue doesn't arrive, even if people turn away, we will not compromise what we carry." That's the heart of someone chosen to be proof. Unshakable, unmovable, undilutable. Don't you dare water yourself down to make others comfortable. Don't dim your light because it makes mediocrity feel exposed. Don't apologize for the grace on your life because it convicts people living in defeat. You weren't preserved through hell's fury, refined in sorrow's furnace, and resurrected from despair's grave just to retreat now. You weren't kept alive through circumstances that should have destroyed you, so you could shrink back when the spotlight gets warm. The world has enough fake Christians, enough performance, enough religious theater. What they desperately need is one person, just one whose life provides undeniable evidence that the God of miracles is still alive, still moving, still transforming broken vessels into divine masterpieces. That person is you, chosen one. But carrying this proof comes with a question that will determine everything. Will you honor what God has entrusted to you, or will you betray it for human approval? But here's where your story transforms, from personal victory to divine revolution. Your endurance will spark courage in hearts that wanted to quit. Your transformation will ignite hunger in souls who thought they were too far gone. Your scars will plant faith in others who believed healing was impossible. Listen to me carefully, chosen one. You think your breakthrough is just about you. You think God preserved you through 70, 80, 90 years of battles just so you could finally find peace. No, your survival was never the end game. It was the beginning of something so much bigger. Your life is a canvas. Every painful brushstroke, that divorce at 55, that diagnosis at 67, that betrayal that left you broken at 73, every stroke was forming a masterpiece. At first, it looked like chaos. Sometimes it looked like ruin. But now, when people step back to see the complete picture, they won't just see you. They'll see God's hand moving across the fabric of impossibility. Think about the woman at the well in John chapter 4. Jesus didn't heal her just for her sake. The moment she encountered living water, she ran back to her city and became the first evangelist. Come, see a man who told me everything I ever did. Could this be the Messiah? Her transformation didn't stay contained. It exploded outward. One encounter, one changed life. An entire city came to believe. That's what's happening to you right now. Your grandchildren who stopped calling, they're about to witness something in you that makes them question everything they thought they knew about faith. Your neighbors who whispered about your struggles, they're going to watch your restoration and whisper something different. How is this possible? Your own children who wrote you off as broken, they're about to see proof that the God they abandoned never abandoned you. But it goes deeper than family. It ripples through generations you'll never meet. That young mother in the grocery store who sees how you carry yourself after loss, she goes home and prays for the first time in years. That man at the doctor's office who notices your peace in the midst of your health battle, he starts asking questions about the God who gives such strength. That couple facing bankruptcy who watches how you handle your own financial storms, they discover that provision comes from heaven, not just hard work. This is the multiplication effect of proof. Romans 8:28 declares, "And we know that in all things God works for the good of those who love him." But notice it doesn't say for the good of you alone. Your good becomes their good. Your testimony becomes their breakthrough. Your proof becomes their pathway to belief. Matthew 5:16 commands us to let your light shine before others, that they may see your good deeds and glorify your Father in heaven. You've been a candle burning in the darkness for decades. Now God is about to place you on a lampstand where your light illuminates not just your own path, but the paths of everyone around you. Your story is about to ignite a wildfire of faith that spreads through your family tree, jumps across neighborhood fences, and travels through communities hungry for evidence that God still moves in impossible situations. One day, when they retell your story at family gatherings, at church testimonials, in quiet conversations between friends, they won't say, "Look at what they accomplished." They won't say, "Look at how strong they were." They'll say something that echoes through eternity. "Look at what God did through them." If you believe your story will ignite faith in others, if you know your proof will become someone else's breakthrough, write in the comments right now, "My life is proof." But the multiplication has only just begun, because what God is about to do through your living testimony will reach further than you ever imagined possible. Chosen one, as we come to the end of this sacred encounter, I need you to remember 3 eternal truths that will anchor your soul in the storms ahead. First, your survival was never accidental. it was assignment. Every battle you fought, every tear you've shed, every moment you wanted to quit but didn't, has been God engraving His signature into your story. You are living proof that He is still real, still moving, still faithful. Second, your scars are not your shame, they are your credentials. The very wounds that made you feel disqualified have actually qualified you to be heaven's exhibit in a world desperate for evidence. Your pain wasn't punishment, it was preparation for this moment when your life becomes undeniable proof of God's existence. Third, your story doesn't end with you. The breakthrough you're stepping into will ignite faith in others, spark courage in the discouraged, and plant hope in hearts that had given up. You are not just surviving, you are multiplying miracles. But beloved, I need you to know something deeper than knowledge, something that settles in your bones. You are not walking this path alone. The God who preserved you through every valley is still working in your life right now, in this very moment. Every breath you take is evidence of His faithfulness. Every sunrise you witness is His promise that your story isn't over. And beyond God's presence, you have a community right here. Look around these comments. Feel these hearts connecting. This isn't just a YouTube channel. This is a family of chosen ones who understand your journey, who've walked similar paths, who are ready to stand with you in prayer and support. So let me ask you this final question, and let it resonate in the deepest chambers of your heart. Now that you know you are God's living proof, how will you walk differently tomorrow morning when you wake up? Before I release you into your destiny, join me in prayer. Wherever you are in your living room, your bedroom, your car, place your hand on your heart and let me speak over your life. Almighty God, Creator of heaven and earth, I place my hand on the shoulder of every precious soul hearing these words right now. Father, you see them, not just their struggles, but their strength, not just their scars, but their significance, not just their pain, but their purpose. Lord, I pray for divine confirmation over their lives. Let them feel your presence like a warm embrace, reminding them they are chosen, they are loved, they are proof of your goodness. Where they feel forgotten, remind them they are treasured. Where they feel broken, show them they are being made whole. Where they feel ordinary, reveal they are extraordinary in your eyes. God, open doors that no man can shut. Provide resources they haven't even thought to ask for. Send divine connections that will accelerate their purpose. Give them strength for today and bright hope for tomorrow. Let their testimony become a lighthouse for others lost in the storm. Protect their families, restore their relationships, multiply their influence. Let every person who encounters them sense something different, the unmistakable presence of the living God working through a life surrendered to your will. And Father, when people ask them how they made it through, give them boldness to point not to their own strength, but to your faithfulness. Let their lives echo the truth that you are still God, you are still good, and you are still in the miracle business. In the mighty name of Jesus, who conquered death so they could conquer every impossibility, I seal this prayer with faith, hope, and unshakable love. Amen. Now, chosen one, I want to hear from you. Share in the comments below what God spoke to your heart today. Tell us which part of this message hit deepest. Ask for prayer if you need it. This community will surround you with intercession. And please, share this video with someone who needs to remember they are living proof of God's reality. There's someone in your life right now who needs to hear these words. Thank you for staying with me through this entire journey. Thank you for opening your heart, for receiving these words, for allowing God to speak to the deepest places of your soul. If this message has changed something in you, hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell. You're not just subscribing to content, you're joining a movement of chosen ones who refuse to live beneath their calling. Until we meet again, walk as who you are, living proof that God is real, God is good, and God is not finished with your story. You are chosen, you are loved, and you are never, ever alone.